and this is so exciting. It's exciting being here with you today, and it's exciting as I think about some of the things that this is going to open up as well. So,
yay!
Yes, welcome everyone. I see that we're live, and it's just so exciting to always be in these conversations with amazing women and men who are in powerful conversations about living your best life. Hi, everyone. I'm VLYNN Hawkins, your host of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth TV show. And we are with Miss Jenna Banks. And today we're going to explore the topic of self-care and self-love, and that they are not selfish acts. You know, it's really important when we understand what it takes to live and thrive in today's environment. And what we know is that you have to take care of yourself, and you have to do it in a way that sometimes mean that you're not acquiescing to the wishes of others. So with that said, I want to say welcome to Jenna Banks, multiple entrepreneur, coach, author, and someone who has done the work and found the key to her success that she's going to share with us today. Jenna, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, you know, I'm just going to jump right into it, because why waste a moment? There are a couple little things I want our audience to know, the biggest of which, as that multiple entrepreneur that I mentioned, you built a business, you found a business broker, and you sold that business for multiple six figures. And while on the journey, you said that you found yourself. You found that key to success, and that it was, you know, the heart of it all. We're going to talk about it. I'd love for you to share with our audience about it, because with your coaching services, your upcoming book, and your powerful mission to help other women create their own personal story and walk it out, tell us now more about you and this journey.
Oh, you're so sweet. Help me. Like, where would you like me to start, VLYNN? I could go anywhere with that.
Were you a kid and you just knew that when you got to whatever point in life that was going to be, you were going to be doing this amazing work, you know, an entrepreneur at heart from the beginning, and you're going to be doing this amazing work?
No, that's a very good question. That's a really good question. No, I always, okay. All right. I'll tell you something interesting that I've never had this conversation with anyone before. So this is a really good tidbit that I've always wanted to share, which is what stoked my entrepreneurial drive, which is a big part of who I am. And you know what stoked it? I bet you, I don't know if anyone else has this story. I got married very young. I was 19 years old, and I was living in Florida at the time. And I married a Dutchman who was living in Florida at the time, getting his degree from University of South Florida. And we dated for a few months, and then he went off to the Netherlands, where he's from. And we had these big dreams and goals of traveling the world together and doing all these things as young people do, young love. And I ended up finding out that I was pregnant. So it was actually a blessing in disguise for me. I was a little bit directionless at that time of my life. And I had gone through a lot with my family. My upbringing was pretty crazy, pretty unstable, very unstable. So he and I talked on the phone about it, and he says, you know, I don't agree with abortion. And I said, I don't feel like I should have an abortion. It's not that I don't agree with it, but we both made the decision to have unprotected sex, and we should, you know, we are capable, we're in love, we could do this. And so we decided to get married, and I moved to the Netherlands. And during my time there, I loved it, a great time, really good experience, but I immersed myself in the culture. I learned the language, and my son was born there. And as much as I loved it, I realized what we had in America, which was what I couldn't do in the Netherlands. Even if I was born there, I couldn't open a bakery if I wanted to without a degree in baking. I couldn't do, there was so much red tape because it is a very socialistic kind of a country, which is beautiful in that you don't have to worry about healthcare, your basic needs are taken care of. But the downside to that is there was so much, and I don't know if it had to do with the social system or if it had to do just with the fact that it was an old country, very, very old country, unlike America, that was founded on different rules and laws. But nonetheless, you couldn't just be an entrepreneur there like you can here. The American dream is real. And I got to really, like, I said, oh, wow, whoa, 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 I'd rather be in my country where I could do whatever I want to do. I could be whatever I want to be. I could start any business I want to start. And so that's where that drive started to come from. It was the appreciation of what we have in this country that I didn't experience over there. So that kind of drove that deep appreciation for the opportunities that we have here.
Wow. And getting started on your entrepreneurial journey, was that an easy process? Was it a hard process? What did you decide you wanted to do in the entrepreneurial space?
My first time I was an entrepreneur, I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I decided I wanted to do something different, do what I thought was better. And I think that a lot of people go into business that for that reason is they see a problem that needs to be solved, or they see something that's being done a certain way and they think, oh, I can do this better or differently. So I was working for somebody in the merchandise field that I was in my 20s. When we came back to the States, I went to work right away for somebody as the assistant of the president, a guy who owned a factory, and they created custom apparel, and then also got into hard goods as well. And so I saw the way that, and I don't want to name names or get into too many details, but the way that that particular business was being run was very, how do I say it? They had all the equipment. They were very hands-on with everything. And I thought, man, I want to have the same end result, but I want to delegate everything. I don't, this took a couple of 2.5 years or so of being involved with that company for me to say, I love this industry, but I have a way to do, I feel like there's a way to do it more efficiently. And so that's really been the theme of my entire life is how can we accomplish the same end result, but do it more productively and more streamlined, more smart, if you will. And so that's been the driving force for me for a lot of my entrepreneurial endeavors is how can we do this smarter? How can we do it more streamlined, more productive? That's the way my mind works.
Awesome. And you built a business that
To-
you sold. Tell us a little bit about that. What was the business? How long did you build it before you decided it was time to turn it over and you started looking for you got a business broker? Tell us a little bit about what all of that was about.
Okay. I started this last business venture in 2012. I left a cushy corporate job because I felt the drive to get back into doing my own thing. It was too comfortable. That happens to me a lot. When I get too comfortable, I want to throw myself back into being uncomfortable because that means I'm learning and growing. So I did that in 2012. I just up and quit my very long, comfortable job to get back into being an entrepreneur. I just wanted to feel that spark again. I wanted to feel that passion again. And I'm glad I did. I jumped into the unknown and just started. In fact, I tried to do things differently than I'd done in the past. And I taught myself how to do blogging, online marketing, And it started to pay off. And so I just kept following the breadcrumbs where they led. And, my first client was NASDAQ, which was a really good, they found me online and I'm like, ooh, I like this better. I like the inbound marketing better than outbound, it's like, let me do more of that. So then that led to Panavision finding me and eventually some much bigger companies that I can't name because of confidentiality agreements. But that was an amazing journey just to see that pay off. And I was doing things differently in that business too. Traditionally, the industry that I had been in was traditionally run by face-to-face meetings, a lot of lunches and just personal relationships. And what I was doing was very different in that I was catching clients that didn't know me at all, no relationship, but establishing a relationship by email mostly, and yet retaining these clients for years and years and years where we'd never even talk to each other on the phone, let alone have a lunch together. But so that expanded into me eventually reaching a breaking point. I was like a lot of solopreneurs. I thought I had to do everything myself. We tend to get caught up in that trap. Like, oh, if it's going to get done right, I've got to do it all. And, I'll share a little tidbit with you that I learned, which was I had to learn the hard way that perfectionism is a fear-based belief and it can actually hold you back from growth. And that was one of my problems is I wanted to do everything perfect. I thought I had to do it all myself. And that perfectionism was holding me back. And so I had to learn, I think it was Barbara Corcoran. I'm pretty sure it was Barbara Corcoran. I was watching an episode of Shark Tank and there was this woman that came on. She had a great product. Nobody invested. And Barbara Corcoran said something that changed my entrepreneurial life forever. She said, I'm not going to invest in you. I love you and I love the product. The problem is you're going to prevent yourself from growing. You're too focused on perfectionism. You won't be able to let go. She's like, I had to learn as an entrepreneur that 85% is good enough. And that really hit home for me. I was like, wow, yeah, I do expect too much of myself. And I would expect too much of people working for me. And that would lead me to not, let go as much as I should. So I took that to heart and just started delegating and found a way to do it in a very, very cost-effective manner, which is part of what I teach my clients how to do, scale in a low-cost way without taking on debt. And I got it to the point where I was I went from working, in the beginning 0 to 5 hours to 10 hours to 12-hour days, just getting it started and then not having weekends because my client roster grew so big. And then starting to train people, hire people. That took up a lot of time. Then it slowly started to go down to 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours a day. My goal was, let me delegate everything. Once I realized how amazing it was, I then started delegating everything. I'm like, my goal is to create this into a company I can sell. And so how do I do that? I want to make myself completely removable. And that's what I did. And so by the time 2019 rolled around, about a year and a half ago, I decided to put some feelers out there. I had attended a conference, a seminar that opened my eyes to different ways to sell your business, unlike how I previously thought it was. It was like some multiple of net profit times whatever, and in my industry, it would have been very little. I learned that there are other ways to sell your company, other types of buyers that would buy it under different circumstances. And so I proceeded to find a broker. My very first call, this is how I love how serendipity works. I'm a very spiritual person. I believe the universe brings you exactly what you need at the right time. And that first call, beautiful woman named Lisa, she and I clicked right away and I told her what I wanted to do. And she says, well, let me send you this evaluation. We need to do a evaluation on your company. And she did it and it came back. And, in my mind, I said, if I want to sell my company for $500,000. That was the price tag I put in my mind. I said, if I could get it, I will list it for sale and what do I want to do next? Well, I was getting comfortable again, VLYNN. I was like, getting comfortable. I was way too comfortable, right? I was sitting back. I had 2 vacation rentals that were doing great. I had my business that I was working 1 to 2 hours a day in. I was doing my yoga classes every day, playing tennis every other day. living a very comfortable life at that point. But I worked, it's not like I didn't work myself to get there, but now I was comfortable again. But, you know, as I mentioned before, I get I don't like to be comfortable being comfortable for too long. So I thought, what am I going to do next? Well, I have a book I want to write. I had gotten a chance to get on stage and talk, and it was one of my biggest fears in life, that and the fear of heights, two biggest fears. And so I faced that fear of public speaking, and I prepared well, and I got on stage, and I got over my nervousness pretty quickly, and was able to motivate a lot of people. And that was huge for me. I thought, wow, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. I want to be an inspiration for others. And if I can sell my company, this is God's way of saying that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to this next level and be an inspiration for others. And that'll be part of my journey and part of my story. And so I was like, okay. I took that message and I integrated it. And my broker comes back with her valuation and she says, okay, $320,000 is what the SBA banking valuation came back at. And I said, well, you know, Lisa, honestly, I'm not motivated for that. I've got a $500,000 prize in my mind, and here's how I think we can sell it for that. And I taught her what I learned, which was different than how she'd been, you know, normally selling. And I said, would you be willing to take that on? Because they're based on commission. They're not going to take it on if they don't feel like they can sell it, because they don't get paid unless they sell it. And
Right.
she says, you know, yeah, I do think I could do it. I said, great. In 30 days, she found me the perfect buyer. He is a godsend. Honestly, he just was so supportive of the mission and what I was up to. And he was willing to pay my price tag. He saw the value in the company like I did, like I knew was there. And so I was like, okay, on to my next vision of myself, the next level, you know,
Mhm.
what I'm really probably supposed to be here on earth to do, which is I feel is my purpose. And then I finally landed on my purpose, which was all that was leading up to this next big push, which is sending me to a whole new level of uncomfort, discomfort again, which is, oh my gosh, who am I to be this thought leader and a speaker and an author and you know, inspiration for others? You know, those doubts set in, you know, it's uncomfortable because I haven't been there before. I was always behind the curtain. I was never in front of the curtain. I didn't have a Facebook page ever in my life. I only got on Instagram a handful of years ago. So to now, and it's still set to private. It's still set to private. So turning my public figure on, and I did that a handful of months ago. And just now I have my show coming out, the Jenna Banks show, which launches this week. I've got my book deal signed. And so the book should be coming out around February. You know, I'm doing it now, but let me tell you, it's not comfortable yet.
That is awesome, Jenna. Congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
of that.
Thank you.
It is inspiring. And, you know, it really makes me think that most women, and I say most women because I think that, you know, even across cultures, this is the thinking, whether we learned it growing up or we experienced it because of life showing up for us. We evolved. You know, we may have grown up learning certain things, especially about taking care of yourself. You know,
Mhm.
one of the big things that you had mentioned was that you learned how to take care of yourself
Mhm.
during this process. You
Yeah.
know, as we grow and evolve in business, you know, working all of the hours, we get to a point where we see that there's opportunities for us to turn back and look at ourselves and how we can not just reward ourselves, but take care of ourselves as we're continuing the journey. Now, you mentioned a couple of things. I've got a couple of questions here. The
Okay.
first one is vision. And I want to stay on this for a moment because, you know, again, the way that we evolve has a lot to do with that vision that we have for our lives and ourselves. Tell us a little bit about how you derived the vision that you wanted to grow a sellable business, that you had, you know, got that price tag, that you looked at, what's next?
Oh, very good question. The vision is everything. You got to have the vision to know where you're going. You can get there different ways. For example, you know what? Well, I was going to say I'd pull over my vision board for you, but it's got some mess behind it. But I look at it almost every day, and it really does encompass where I'm going. And so to have that I guess that end goal to shoot for it, and if you go so far as to either create a list. I like creating lists as well. I've done that before, and I'll still do it now, where I'll have mini lists. I have different lists for different things, but that list could just be 6 goals, 5 goals on a sticky note like this. This was my goal, my list for the day. So I'll have, because I can't stand having lists sitting around. So I want to cross them off. That's my type A personality. But it's very, very powerful. Call it law of attraction, call it manifesting, but call it what you will. You need to know where you're going, and you have to have the vision for that. Otherwise, you're just going to be pulled in a direction wherever your work is taking you. They say you should go on this path, fine, you go on that trajectory, but you need to be the one guiding the path that you're going down, because everything that's happening to me now, if I didn't have that vision for myself, none of it would be happening. I wouldn't be an author. I wouldn't be, I'm going to be on bookshelves. That would have never happened if I didn't set that vision, and do my vision board and picture myself there. There's more to it. Law of attraction, I am pretty big on that. I started practicing it. I'm going to say back soon after I started my last business. So probably 2013, I was first introduced to law of attraction. It was like foreign language to me at the time. But the way I learn is if I find something that I think is really powerful and I say, okay, I'm very scientific in my thinking as well. I like to see patterns. If this is working for them, then I need to figure out how to make it work for me. And if I don't understand it, that means I just need to study it and practice it and try this and do that. And so that was the same for law of attraction for me. I got the audiobook. I must have listened to it like 20 times during that year just to program that into my brain,
Mm-hmm.
and then I made my lists, and that would sit in my car. I was following their instructions. Set it in your car, set it where you can see it, look at it, feel what that feels like
Mm-hmm.
to be there. What does it feel like when you've attained this level? Or, I do this almost every day. I will visualize almost like a habit now. It's almost like an unconscious habit where I sit back and I dream of myself on a stage talking to a bunch of people and not being nervous at all. One of my biggest fears. But yeah, just feeling, what does that feel like to be on stage and not be nervous and to be helping hundreds of people, thousands of people? How does that feel? And that's how you create that you start to attract that. And everything that I'm doing is attracting that to me because I'm visualizing it. So I hope that answers your question.
I love it. I love it. I am so in alignment to your practices. I do that myself. And that's one of my visualizations as well, is speaking to an audience of thousands and really making a powerful impact.
Mhm.
And, going back to this thought around evolving, that is an evolutionary process to be able to see yourself there and do the work. I mean, it does require us doing some work,
Yeah.
but let's talk about evolving and really flipping. And I think it's a matter of flipping the script, flipping the view, and looking at making ourselves important, taking care of ourselves first. And, for a long time, I'm a spiritual person as well. I've often heard that that is the wrong approach for servant leaders, for those who want to help others and inspire others and motivate others. You can do for everyone else, but you can't do for yourself, or you put yourself last at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
And I don't normally like to call things right or wrong. However, there are times when the wrong thing leads to the wrong actions into the the results that you don't want. You just talked about, having that vision. That's a right action. That's a forward movement action. So, tell us your take on what's right or wrong with thinking about putting everyone else first before you take care of yourself. How's that work for people?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, right or wrong, I don't like to use that either. It's a judgment, and that's something that is limiting. Labeling things as right or wrong, or it's not helpful. It just is. Things just are. But
Agree.
yeah, but self-love is something that, as women in particular, I know because of the research for the book that I've done, which I'm writing a book about self-love. That is my first book that's coming out. Um, is that us as women tend to shy away from even the concept, even opening ourselves up for it, because we think it's selfish, because we believe that we are to self-sacrifice when we have kids, when we have a husband or a significant other partner, a wife, just whoever we're taking care of, our bosses, our colleagues, if we're a manager, the people who work under us. We become so conscious of taking care of everyone else, and we do think it's selfish to love on ourselves. But the truth of the matter is, the way it should be is, you should come number one. You should be your number one priority. And it's a, it seems selfish. It does, just to think, oh, I need to be my number one priority. I need to have a relationship with myself, and prioritize that, and my needs and my wants and my desires, and my comfort level should be my number one priority. How does that sound? And I challenge anyone listening right now, or watching this, maybe take a personal inventory as to how that hits you. How does it hit you? How does that feel to you? Does it feel weird? Does it feel selfish? If so, you're not alone. That is kind of a little bit of an epidemic, is the way I see it, for women. We have to flip that script, because when I flipped it, for me and anyone else who has, you began to realize that it's everything. Your relationship with yourself is so vital to your well-being, to finding your purpose, to tuning into what you love and don't love, what you prioritize. Put it this way: our bodies, and I talk about this all the time on my social media, our bodies are an amazing compass driving us to what's right for us and what's wrong for us. And unfortunately, for me, being someone who was forced into obedience by my very dominating father, our needs were squelched. We were made to feel like what we wanted or needed, or what we felt, wasn't to be trusted. Right. And so, like, oh, you don't want this, you don't like this. Well, no, this is love. Us spanking you and abusing you, and then my mother mentally, that's love. That's not love. It's not love. If it feels uncomfortable, we were taught to deny that, what you feel as being not right or uncomfortable. So when you are trained like that from a very early age, whether it was physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, you're trained from an early age to believe that what you feel doesn't mean anything, or it's not to be trusted, really, is what it comes down to. So I had to learn how to trust my instinct, and that was self-taught in my 20s. Like I said, I'm very scientific in my way of thinking. I just started to notice, every time I feel like my instinct says to do this, and I go against it, it's wrong. And I wish I had gone with my little voice, my little feeling of, hey, this feels right, go for that, or hey, this doesn't feel right, don't go for that. And so I just started to learn to tune into that, and that started my self-love journey. And so I started to get to know myself more. And even last year during COVID was huge for me in developing my personal relationship with myself. And the more that I focus on loving myself and healing my trauma, uncovering the things that hold me back in life, pursuing my passions, all the things that self-love entails, I become such a better version of myself, and my energy level increases, and then I can also support everyone else so much better. So then I realized that the more I love myself, the more I have to give. It's kind of like the opposite of what we think. It's almost like there's this underlying power, I feel like, in all of us women that have been it's been squelched by thousands of years of programming. We're not just talking today's society, we're talking thousands of years
Generations.
of oppression, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're bombarded with this in so many big ways and subtle ways every day of our lives. And my book aims to provide practical everyday applications to realize when your self-love is when it's being jeopardized, or when you have the choice to stand up for yourself and be that husband, lover, mother, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that should stand up for you, but you've got to do it for yourself first. And we aren't taught to do that. But when you do, it's very, very powerful and just opens you up to, my possibilities feel endless. But if I was repressed and controlled and let myself be controlled by, how society tends to view women, I would not be anywhere close to where I am today.
That is powerful. And I love how you said, we have not learned this particular philosophy of giving from not just a full cup, because even with a full cup, you're giving from where you need more. We need to be retaught or reteach ourselves to give from an overflowing cup.
Thank you. Yes.
Because the overflow is where you are still in the position to be in joy
Thank
and
you.
in love and in all that is good for you, because you're giving from the overflow.
Exactly.
And I love that. I love the way that you brought that in. So, Jenna, tell us what your take is on the question of whether or not self-care helps you um, from a physical perspective. How does self-care relate to you physically, or even with impacting mental wellness?
Um, physical physical activity is huge. I do it because I care about how I function in life. I care about how I feel. I care about how my physical body feels. And so I just have this commitment to myself. And I said it many, many years ago, back in my 20s, when I first started working out. My ex-husband was really into fitness. And so he got me on the path of going to the gym. And I don't do gym. I found what works for me, what makes me happy. And I think that's the key. I think that's the key for anybody watching, is to find what makes you happy when you're working out. Don't do it because you have to. Find something that you actually enjoy. That's how I've always approached fitness. But for me, if I've set a minimum, 3 days a week minimum. Optimal for me is 4. I would never do 5 or 6. You need to have a break. But I switch it up. I went from doing the gym workout, and then I realized I don't like the big muscles. I tend to have bigger muscles. And so I would develop muscles quickly, but I liked being fit. So I started when I was in Santa Monica. They have these stairs that run up along the Pacific mountains, along the ocean. So beautiful. And I could just enjoy nature while I was going up and down these stairs. And it was a great workout. And I integrated that with, I would rollerblade on the weekends. And so I was rollerblading and doing the stairs, and then yoga occasionally. Then I got really into yoga. Then I got really into tennis. And did that for many years. And I went back to yoga. Now I am today, like a few years ago, I found barre, Barre. I love what that does to my body. And that's another thing. It goes beyond just the feeling of feeling good in my body. Feeling fit makes me feel good. I feel like I feel better in my clothes. I feel good about how I look. But mentally, it also, there's all this chemical stuff, which VLYNN, you could speak to more than I could, is what happens to you physically, in your brain and in your body.
Endorphins.
When you do all of that, it actually does make you physically feel better. You get more done, mentally more fit. So it goes beyond just that physical appearance. So for me, once I got on it, I never got off. I know I would not, if I were sitting around not working out for months on end, I would just not feel like myself. I really wouldn't. So I just made it a healthy habit. And today, so I practice bar, I play tennis. I just played tennis yesterday. I do that once a week. I joined a league. And then I walk with my friends. In fact, I have a walk for tomorrow with a friend of mine. I live on the Beltline in Atlanta, so I can do that. But I mix it up so that nothing's boring. It doesn't feel like I have to do something, but I enjoy it. So that's what I like to do.
That's great. I love that. And you hit the nail on the head. It's about feeling good. It's about doing what keeps you fit. And if you're not fit right now, don't beat yourself up,
Yeah.
because, like everything, it's a process and it's a commitment to yourself. I
Mhm.
love that you brought that in. Healthy habits lead to you feeling good.
That's a
And
good thing that you picked up on, VLYNN. Committing to yourself is vital. I feel like we do things sometimes because we think we have to for other, like, oh, I do this because other people will think I will look better if I do that. That's not motivating. It's a commitment to yourself that you do something for you, and what fitness looks like for you might look different for the next person to the next. There's no one right body type, or one right weight. It's what feels good to you, but you do it for yourself. And that's part of self-love. It's a big part of self-love, is committing to yourself for you and no one else.
that is so good. Yes. And again, it's something that typically women as young girls, and maybe it's different now. I know when I was growing up and, for my kids, I instilled that taking care of yourself because I knew I had to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Um, but there are still so many of us who are in this generational cycle that you spoke about. We keep learning and passing on what we've learned
Yeah.
until we figure out, oh my gosh, I need to do this differently. And that
Mhm.
was the case in my case. I wanted to parent differently than the way that I was parented.
Right.
And so I did. I had a healthy lifestyle. I was a fitness professional for almost 20 years and continued my athleticism. And my kids grew up in that environment. And so they got to where they understood the importance of living a healthy lifestyle. And today, it passes on to my grandson
Mm.
grandsons.
Mhm.
And I mean, we have to, and if you are someone who's in that cycle, struggling with finding what a healthy lifestyle looks like for you, put a comment under the video and somebody on my team will reach out to you. We'll give you some feedback and some resources so that you can find what it is that will help you to get on your path
Mhm.
or redefine your path. So there's even opportunities. I love how you brought in the fact that you started out doing some things and over time you changed up and now you're doing bar and other things and walking the belt line. It's important for us to know too that what we did 10 years ago or however many years ago is not what necessarily needs to be done today for you to get into that healthy lifestyle, that healthy mindset, and that healthy eating. One of the things that I always do is get to, you know, healthy eating is really big for me because I was in the workout space. I was in the, really powered up workout space. And I, even knowing the resting was so needed for your body, there were times where, I was sought after. And so I found myself in the teaching cycle 7 days a week. And, you know, realizing why, because why wasn't I saying no to take care of me?
Right.
And we really have to learn that space.
Say
Um,
no. Learn how to say no. That's something I talk about in my book is the art of saying no. It's really important. You have to it's part of putting yourself first. And it's hard to do that when you're used to hustling, pleasing everyone else. That is, it's a default for most of us is, oh yeah, just don't let anyone down and put everyone else first. But you got to put yourself first. And I'm sure you learned that the hard way. Did you burn out a little bit?
no, for me, it was injuries, slight injuries, a twisted ankle, a pulled muscle, but
Mhm.
it's those things that slow you down that force you into taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
But why go through that is,
Mhm.
really what it's all about. You don't have to experience that.
Yeah.
And you can have the best of health because you know these things. And, even today at my age, I'm looking at, doing things very differently than
Sure.
I did 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And, even with some of the old injuries, I'm looking at now, you talked about, and I love that you talked about visualization. One of the things that I learned from Joe Dispenza was how to visualize even correcting an injury. And for him, it was he broke his back, actually, a couple of vertebrae. They told him that he would never walk again.
Oh my.
Um, he went through this process of doing mental exercises that actually helped him to reform his spinal cord and the bones in his spine. And not only is he walking now, he works out, he's very physically inclined. And so, there are so many things. There's sound therapy, there's um, you know, we often think about, when I go for my walk, I love to listen to music.
Mhm.
Why is that? And what kind of music? Those vibrations speak to your body.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm very in tune with now is hypnosis.
Oh,
You mentioned about, that fear of public speaking. There's some chemical things going on in your body because of a story that
here's
has
the
been
story.
told,
Yeah.
that changing the story in a certain methodology can
Yeah.
allow you to release those hormones that are flowing because of that
Mhm.
story and
Mm.
create a new set of hormones and a new pathway of communication in the brain.
Mm.
And it's really amazing because, and I'm bringing things full circle back to my question for you, which is about the food that we eat.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't realize that the food that we're consuming is
Yeah.
leading to lethargy. So you don't want to go work out.
That's right.
It's leading to brain fog and you want to go take a nap. It's leading to, all of these negative behaviors, but we don't understand what is happening.
Yeah.
Well, part of understanding that is, and I know that you found your way into this because it is
Mhm.
a part of self-care, is eating right.
100%. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what's your routine? What's your favorite meal? What do you eat mostly that helps you to stay fit, feeling good, and wanting to keep doing that for yourself?
I do want to talk about this more. It's actually a huge topic. It's like a big deal what you feed your body. It is the fuel that fuels you for your day, and it makes a massive difference. Now that I'm thinking about it, while the book is still being edited, I might want to add more about food in there because I realize that it's a huge part of my life. And I take for granted the habits that I started a long time ago, but I landed on a really good routine that works for me, a good rule of thumb, which is, um, if it doesn't die, in a handful of days, it's not good for you. So that's crackers, that's popcorn, that's anything frozen, that's any packaged goods whatsoever, not good for you. So if it dies, and I will exclude meat from there for me, because I also stopped eating meat for the most part, other than occasional fish or seafood. But I stopped eating chicken, beef, pork, all of that many, many years ago. And you know, what's funny? I started that on a whim. So I did the master cleanse, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend for people because it's pretty intense, but I didn't really eat for 10 days. It was this lemonade concoction, and I did it every year for years. I really loved what it did for my body, which is a reset at the end of the year. It was a great way to go into the new year. And I would just feel cleansed, and you'd have no food in your body digesting whatsoever, and allowed your body to stop digesting. And how much energy we spend digesting food, it went into healing the body. And so I really liked that concept. And so to do that once a year as a reset was pretty powerful for me. It got me off of eating meat. I read the book, The Master Cleanse. I think he wrote it in like the 70s or whatever. And he made a really good point in the book. The point was, cows don't eat meat. Horses don't eat meat. Look how muscular they are. Do they really need meat for their muscles? No. You can get protein from other things, right? You can get protein from plants. Broccoli has protein, plenty of veggies and legumes and all kinds of other things that have protein in them besides meat. So I was like, okay. So after I got off my first master cleanse, I decided to try not eating meat, just like I do some things. Just let me give it a go. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. So I started not eating meat, and I was like, can I find things to eat on the menus when I'm going out? And sure enough, and I was always happy with the options, and I started to feel better. I dropped 10 pounds without trying. It wasn't a diet. I just stopped eating meat, and my body felt better. And I didn't feel this heaviness of meat digestion in my body, because I was eating meat every single day, like most of us do. That's how we were raised. We were taught that was part of the food pyramid, right? Like it was something you had to do. But I realized that wasn't true for me. And it's not true for a lot of people. There are some people who really do need meat, but there are others who don't. And then I read this book called The China Study. I don't know if you've read it.
Yes. Ah.
And that was like, you know, the former Surgeon General of America did this whole decade-long study in China, and, you know, finding the link between meat and cancer was just, you know, tipped me over the other edge. So I was like, I see meat as a carcinogen. So that was one thing I eliminated. And then also sticking with the whole foods. So like I said, anything that dies pretty quickly in your fridge. So, I mean, I would open my fridge for you now, but I'm not set up for that, but it's almost all fruits and vegetables in there. And so that's pretty much what I eat in the morning. Like just before I came on with you, I made myself a veggie juice. I just juiced it from carrots and celery and cucumber and ginger and turmeric for anti-inflammation, and just lots of veggies. I used to put fruit in it to sweeten it up. I don't even need that anymore. I just want the good stuff, because fruit is sugar anyway. And so, but if I do want a little snack, you know, I would, and at the end of the night, I used to have a dessert every single night. I've switched that to, if I really want a treat, have some grapes or something sweet that's a fruit, and it actually still fills that same cup for you. You just have to find new neural patterns to, you know, new reward systems. And so I think that's the key, is just rewarding yourself differently, and to develop healthy habits. We can say at the end of the night, oh, and this was me, I'm gonna raise my hand on this one. I had that reward system set up where it was like that glass or two at the end of the night was a reward for the long, hard day that I put in. But that was a wiring situation. I wouldn't feel as good the next day. Red wine especially does something to me. And when I said, you know what, let's look at that. Is that a healthy pattern for me? Or can I set a new healthy pattern, a new reward of not doing that? So when I walk into the produce section now, my mouth starts watering. It always does every time I go. I stay away from, I don't touch packaged foods. I'm like, load me up on the produce. It's literally my mind is wired that way now.
Awesome. I love that. So how often do you go to the grocery store?
once a week. Yeah, once a week. I find that it will last that long. And when things are, most of celery and cucumbers and all that stuff will last about that long. And then I'll make sure one of my meals is a nice big salad. That's a whole meal. And then sometimes for dinner, I will literally just eat grilled vegetables. That's plenty. You can fill up on that and you just get used to doing that. And you can season it up nicely and it will just taste so darn good. It's like I don't miss the meat. I don't miss the rice. I don't miss but you know what, that said, potatoes I think are so great for you. They're chock
Mhm,
full of vitamins. And who doesn't love a good baked potato, some mashed potatoes, some fries in your air fryer? And
mhm.
I'll throw
Sweet
on some,
potato fries.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes. So, Jenna, as we are wrapping up our conversation today on the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show, tell us what you believe. Is there some wisdom that you want to leave our audience with that you just know that they should know that's so valuable for them to walk away with today?
I would say, Phelan, that if you don't know if you have a good relationship with yourself, if you feel like, do I have a relationship with myself? I don't know. Do I love myself enough? I don't know. That should be a good indication that you might want to spend some time with yourself. Because if you do have that loving, beautiful, amazing relationship with yourself, you would know it. And let me tell you, I love myself so much. I can spend days and days alone. Now, granted, I will need social interaction at some point, but I can journal, I can read, I can feel my soul, I can meditate, I can dive deeper into me. And the more I learn about myself, the more I just love myself. And I realize that there's no such thing as imperfection. We're all beautiful just as we are. And I accept myself, flaws and all. I don't compare. I don't, because when you have a relationship with yourself, you know it. And that is you become your number one. And if you don't feel like you're your number one, then I implore you to start adding some kind of a self-love practice. Um, there's many different ways to start getting in touch with yourself. You could be journaling anything that comes to mind. I like to do 3 pages a day. I learned that not too long ago, but for me, it's been really great to have that pen and paper every morning. I'll do a meditation. I don't take too long, maybe 15 minutes is enough for me. And then I will either before or after just sit with my journal and make myself write a minimum of 3 pages. When you force yourself to do it and you just don't, it's stream of consciousness. Just write down whatever comes to mind, whatever is going on in your day, what you wake up feeling, what maybe happened the day before at work or at home. Just start writing. And when you start writing, you'll start to realize certain things because the practice of writing, it draws out the time and it's different than typing and it's different than talking. When you write it out, it forces you to kind of explore feelings. And so the more you can explore your feelings, whether it's journaling with a coach, with a therapist, meditating, you start to go deeper into you. The more I now find myself, and I've got my journal handy, I have 3 journals sitting here for different reasons. I find myself just pulling the journal out many times during the day and I just start writing. I have a thought, I want to work it out. You start to realize that, you have all the tools you need inside of you. You just got to tune into it. So that hopefully answers your question.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think that is some excellent wisdom and practical because, it can be done. And, I love your journal. I've got a couple that are like that as well. But even I've gotten to where I couldn't get my hands on the journal type that I wanted. I went to Office Depot and got some composition notebooks
Yeah.
and, beautiful packaging. And I bought enough to last me for a while. And I have now shelves of journals
Love
that
it.
I've collected over the years.
Oh,
And what's nice is I think that you do discover more of who you are when you're in that process. And then, something I think it was Joyce Meyer kind of put on my mind at one point. She said she was doing something and she went and found a box of journals and she pulled them out and she started reading her own journals and she thought, oh my goodness, look at where I was then. Look at what I was thinking. Look at
yeah.
where I am now. And, there's a lot of gratitude that can be spent, gratitude time that can be spent over thinking about how far we've come. We
Mm,
don't think about that as often as we probably could. I know,
yeah.
especially when you're journaling gratitude, you're thinking gratitude in the present moment and, thank you for whatever and the
Yeah.
people and the things. But how about, that journal from 10 years ago and reading some things and
Mm,
even reading things that have manifested and
mhm.
saying, oh my gosh, I wrote about this 10 years ago and now it's coming about, or, maybe it just recently came about, or maybe you're still in that manifestation process because it was so huge,
Yeah.
but that I think is so powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure, VLYNN. This has been a lovely experience, just like two girlfriends having a conversation. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you. And you are so right. And to our audience, everyone, key thing, become your number one.
Mm,
You will not regret it. And everyone around you will feel it from you because you're just going to carry yourself in a much different way.
mhm.
So we're wrapping up today, and I want to make sure that people know that they can reach you.
Oh,
The
yeah.
link to connect with Jenna is in the content on this video. So feel free to reach out to her, check her out, see what else she's got going on, and stay in touch with her. And in the comments, let us know what your thoughts are about the show because our goal was to bring you some valuable conversations, some straight talk, some things that you could put into practical use in your own lives. So let us know and ask for what else you might like for us to have on the show. I'm always reaching out to amazing women like Jenna to interview on the show. And I'd love to know if you're interested in something in particular. So if you are a health wisdom or wealth practitioner and you'd like to share your knowledge and expertise with our audience to be in this conversation, please reach out to me, PM me, message me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I am available. You can email me at vlynn@p3academy.com. And everyone, thank you once again. We've got some exciting things coming up in future episodes, but we hope that you enjoyed today. Go to YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. Turn on your notifications so that you'll see more shows as they come about. I'm going to look forward to seeing Jenna's shows and help us get the message out. Share. And we thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. Be well, live, love, and be a bigger positive impact in the world. Namaste.
Namaste.